Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope that you're having a wonderful day, wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Today we're going to be talking about a heavy case. It's about a school shooter and there are children involved, young children, so that's my wee disclaimer. If that's not something you want to listen to right now, then check out and I'll see you in another video. Go take care of yourself and yep. So today we're going to be talking about an incident that happened in the 70s, and it is about Brenda Ann Spencer. Brenda Ann Spencer was born on April 3rd, 1962. She lived in San Carlos in California. Her house was across the road from Grover Cleveland Elementary School. She was described as being introverted and she had a dislike for police officers, and previously she had spoken about how she would like to shoot a police officer. She excelled in photography and she actually won an award that was a competition that was held by the Humane Society, and she won first place because she was really good at photography. Kind of ironic that it was through the Humane Society, but there you go. Brenda's parents split at some point during her childhood. She lived with her father and they lived in poverty. They were just to the point where they were sleeping on the floor on their living room on a single mattress. So they really weren't well off. I couldn't really find anything about her mum, so I don't know what happened, if she was just like, I'm out of here, I don't know. Brenda had also been referred through a school programme for what they called problem pupils, and this was due to her lack of attendance to classes. In the summer of 1978, Brenda was arrested for shooting out the windows of Grover Cleveland Elementary School and also for burglary, and her parole officer actually had her referred for a psychiatric evaluation, and the psychologist or psychiatrist basically said that she should be institutionalized for her depressive state, but her father was like, nope, I'm not for it. So he basically said, no, you're not going, because she was still a minor. It is his decision if she goes there or not, and he said no. For Christmas in 1978, Brenda's father gifted her a .22 semi-automatic rifle, and it's actually the same rifle that she would go on to use just over a month later in the school shooting. Brenda was later asked why her father bought a gun for her, like why did she think he would have bought her a gun, and she says that she asked for a radio and that her father buying a gun made her feel like he wanted her to just end her own life. On Monday, the 29th of January, 1979, Brenda opened fire on a group of children outside Grover Cleveland Elementary School using the same gun that her father had gifted her for Christmas. This was a shooting that would leave 2 people dead and 9 other people injured. On this Monday morning, Brenda started shooting at the group of children who were waiting at the gate for the principal, Burton Ragg, who was 53 at the time, to open the school gates. When Brenda opened fire on the children, she first started with a 9-year-old boy, and the reason that she chose this 9-year-old boy was literally because he was wearing her favourite colour, which was blue. So that's interesting and really sad. Like, that poor boy, like, I wonder if he wouldn't have even been injured had he not worn that colour. The principal and another teacher, Daryl Barnes, tried to get the children to safety, and it was at this point when Brenda shot and killed the principal, Burton Ragg. Brenda continued to fire upon the children, and she shot and killed the janitor, which, if you're American, you probably know them as a caretaker from the school, Mike Suker, and he was 56, and he was shot and killed when he attempted to pull a student to safety. A 28-year-old police officer, who arrived on the scene after receiving calls of distress for people about the incident that was going on. When he arrived on scene, he was wounded in the neck. Due to quick thinking on behalf of the police department, they managed to prevent Linda from causing any more casualties. Linda? Due to quick thinking on behalf of the police department, they actually managed to prevent Brenda from causing any more casualties, and they done this by arranging to have a garbage truck parked in her line of sight, so just outside her house, so she couldn't actually see anybody and couldn't shoot anybody else. After she had fired 30 times, Brenda then barricaded herself in her house for 7 long hours. 7 hours? Like, 7 hours is a long time to just barricade yourself in a house. It just is. During this time, a reporter for the San Diego Tribune began calling numbers of the neighbourhood, so obviously they knew where she was, and they were like, "Hello, is this Brenda?" And eventually they found Brenda, and when they were on the phone, they asked her, "Why did you decide to start shooting at these children and adults who are there to protect the children?" She simply replied with, "I don't like Mondays. This livens up the day," which is why Brenda went on to be called the "I don't like Mondays killer" because of that quote. Brenda later also told police negotiators that the children and the adults that she had shot were easy targets and that she was coming out shooting. After hours of being barricaded in her home, she finally surrendered, and she left her house after, and wait for it, being promised a Burger King meal for the negotiators. Really? Really? Really, Brenda? That's what it took? A Burger King? In her house, police found loads of empty beer and whiskey bottles, but they said that when she was arrested, it didn't seem like she was intoxicated, so I'm guessing if she did drink large amounts of beer or whiskey, they would probably be able to smell it. They would be able to tell. I mean, this is their job. They arrest people who are drunk all the time, you know. So they said that she didn't seem to be intoxicated. Brenda was charged as an adult, despite the fact that she was a minor. She pleaded guilty to 2 counts of murder and assault with a deadly weapon. And on April 4th, 1980, which is just 1 day after she turned 18, she was sentenced to 25 years to life, and she would not be eligible for parole until 1993. During her time in prison, Brenda was actually diagnosed with epilepsy, and she struggled with depression, and she was treated for both of these during her stay in prison. As of 2015, Brenda has had 4 unsuccessful parole meetings. During her first parole hearing, Brenda claims that she was trying to commit suicide by cop. So if anybody doesn't know what that is, it's basically where you commit a crime and police show up. So usually it would involve somebody having a firearm, and the police show up, and because they're a danger to people, basically they hope that the police will shoot them to death. And she also claimed that she was under the influence of alcohol and drugs. However, blood tests that were done when she was taken into custody showed that that's not true, because all the bloods came back negative. In a parole hearing in 2001, Brenda claimed to have been beaten and sexually assaulted by her father. Now, this was the first time that she had ever mentioned this to anybody, despite the time that she'd been in prison and things like that. It was the first time that she'd ever brought it up, and so the parole board actually questioned the validity of these accusations, and her father just was like, they're not true. In 2009, she was yet again refused parole, and they turned around and told her at this meeting in 2009 that she wouldn't be eligible again for another parole meeting and for another 10 years, which would take her up to 2019. In 2021, she was eligible for another parole hearing, and she basically was like, she just waived it. She was like, I don't want it. So her next parole hearing is actually scheduled for August 18th, 2022, and she will be 60 years old, when her next parole hearing comes around, so it will be interesting to see if she'll actually go for it. I think that at this point she's probably too old. She just feels like if she waives it, obviously because she's been sentenced from 25 years to life, she will stay in jail. And if you think about how much the world has changed since Brenda went to jail, it would be hard for her to adapt. So she's probably actually better off staying in jail, but it will be interesting, and I'll be looking out to see how that goes and if she chooses to try to get parole. As of today, she's still prisoned in the California Institute for Women, and we'll just see this year, I guess, if she goes for her parole in August. There's another thing related to this case. So the Boomtown Rats, when Bob Geldof was the lead singer of Boomtown Rats, he read a news article about Brenda Ann Spencer and the crimes that she had committed, and like I said, she was labelled the I Don't Like Mondays killer, and this actually inspired Bob Geldof to write the song I Don't Like Mondays. And the lyrics go, "Tell me why I don't like Mondays, I want to shoot the whole day down." And this is based on what Brenda done and what she said. It remained at #1 in the UK for 4 weeks, and the song is actually the biggest hit in their native island. It received a lot of airplay in America, not the San Diego area, thankfully, because damn, that would just be so bad for the families who were affected and the children. Like, could you imagine turning your radio on in your car and then hearing that and you'd be like, wow. But it did get a lot of airplay in America outside of the San Diego area. It never made the top 40, but it was still played a decent amount. Bob Geldof actually came forward later, and he mentioned that Brenda actually wrote him a letter, and she says that she was glad she done it because he made her famous, which he said it wasn't a good thing to live with. I mean, that's kind of, when you get parole, you're supposed to admit that you've done wrong and show that you're sorry for what you've done. But if she's out here writing letters like, oh, I'm glad I done it, can you ever really believe somebody's changed and that they're actually sorry for what they done? I mean, she's 60 now. I don't know if they would ever let her out. I don't think they would. And I don't know at this point if she's going to go for any more parole meetings. But I mean, it's tricky. I mean, I don't think, obviously, she would be allowed a gun if she did get out. But that doesn't mean to say that if she did get out, she wouldn't be a danger to anybody. I mean, she spent her whole life in prison since she was 18. And she's now 60. She does not know anything outside the prison anymore. Life is so different. And the chances are, if she did get out, she may reoffend just to go back. So I don't think she will go for any more. And considering that she's waived her most recent parole hearing, I just don't think that I don't think she'll go for it, to be honest. And I think that's for the best. I think that people like Brenda belong in jail forever. I mean, how can you fire upon innocent kids and kill 2 adults who are there to safeguard and protect those children? I just don't understand. But I also feel bad for her because she was obviously really, really struggling as a child, and her dad could have really helped her. He's supposed to help her, and if a professional is saying that she needs to go into an institution because of her depression, if that was the case and he did give her permission to go, maybe things wouldn't have happened like this. I mean, I guess we'll never know, and I don't feel bad for her being in prison, don't get me mistaken, because she deserves to be there. But you're allowed to feel sad for things that people have gone through, and mental health is a real struggle. Just because we acknowledge it now doesn't mean that it wasn't a real struggle back then. But that's all I have for today. let me know, did you know about this case? Did you like the story? Like the story, that sounds so weird. But did you find it interesting? Is there any cases that you would like me to cover? I will have my email linked below, and my Instagram and Facebook, and I have TikTok, so I'll be posting little short clips on there. So go follow me, it's at Come Crime With Me, and yes, so I will see you next time, my loves. Bye.